Scalable Solutions for India on the occasion of World Youth Skills Day 2022. I am your host, Charvi Gangwani, a member of UVA's Young People's Action Team. And it is our absolute pleasure to have with us Sri Sanjay Kumar, Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports as Chief Guest, Dr. Chinta Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission as Guest of Honor, and Dr. Biswajit Saha, Director, Skill Education CBSE as our special guest. It is our honor to welcome Sri Nitesh Kumar Mishra, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and Director General, Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. 15 pilots were conducted with 11 partners to identify impactful and scalable life skills training models. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the first panel discussion on shaping life skills domain in India. The discussion shall be moderated by Mr. Gaurav Goyal, founder and CEO of Samagra. And on the panel, we have Ms. Geeta Goyal, Country Director India for Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, Mr. Yasuma Sekimura, UNICEF India representative, and Mr. Abhishek Goyal, Chief Operating Officer of Yuva, Generation Unlimited in India at UNICEF. Over to you, Mr. Gaurav, to kick off the discussion.
Thank you, Charvi, and thanks to the organizing team for putting together this very appropriate and relevant panel of Geeta, Yas, and Abhishek to discuss important topic of shaping the life skills domain in the country. We have fairly limited time for the panel, so therefore I'll kind of directly come to the content. One of the words that I'll be using often during the course of this discussion in the next 20 minutes is the word ecosystem. The life skills ecosystem. And by the ecosystem here, I'm referring to the youth, the employers, the various implementing agencies in this space, the assessment of measurement agencies, the technology partners, program management organizations, as well as the funding and the philanthropic ecosystem. So that's what we'll talk about, how this ecosystem is shaping and how we would like to see it shape in the coming years. My first question is to you, Geeta. As Michael and Susan Foundation, you're in the business of shaping ecosystems. And when it comes to the life skills ecosystem, how have you seen it shape up in the last couple of years in particular? And what are the things you would like to see happen in the coming couple of years with regards to this ecosystem?
Thank you, Gaurav. Pleasure to be here on this panel. And I think today is also the World Youth Skills Day. So as Charvi mentioned, and I think both youth and skills are personally very important for me and for the foundation, recognizing it's both the biggest opportunity that we have and the biggest challenge that we have, both as a world and most importantly in India. I do want to make one correction, Gaurav. As the foundation, we are not in the business of shaping ecosystems. I think we're in the business of delivering large-scale impact, and we think ecosystem is the best enabler to make that happen. So in the context of life skills and life skills ecosystems, I would just want to first define life skills and out of the Life Skills Collaborative, which was a consortium of about 30 organizations in India, we spent a fair bit of time defining what life skills in the Indian context for adolescent means. And just to frame the conversation, I would say these skills enable a person to navigate different life contexts. So, the navigation is an important word. It's, giving them a sense of personal confidence, social consciousness, and professional competence. So it's a fairly wide-ranging set of skills. And, underlying this, I would say, is things like problem-solving, collaboration, communication. So that's what life skills are, what really prepares you for life. And for employment, which again, for the foundation context is an important objective. And before I come to our role in the ecosystem and what's changed in the ecosystem in the last 2 years, I do want to, just before these 2 years started, there was a statement from the World Economic Forum that the problem in India is not of unemployment, but of unemployability. And I think, we really, till we solve the unemployability issue, we will not solve the employment issue. And life skills is an important or a crucial factor in solving this unemployability issue. Last 2 years, what's happened, I would say, on the things that have given a fillip to life skills delivery. One is the National Education Policy of 2020, which clearly says that the ambit of education needs to go beyond academic outcomes and provide holistic development. And they actually outline a few skills that need to be included in the school curriculum. And a lot of our focus and Young Warrior Next focus was around the skills outlined by NEP. The second is COVID and school closure, which meant, I think just a dip in confidence levels of students, much higher anxiety, much more joblessness, economy hits, all of them again saying that our focus needs to go back to life skills, 21st century skills, whatever you call it, and make people, confident, self-aware, and I would say employable, contributing members of the society. So I think those are the big things that have happened at an economy or a country level, which have shaped life skills. What has happened, within the life skills space, I would say, is two things. There were a lot of continuing small projects which continue to deliver results. And we have some of those partners like Dream a Dream, Magic Bus, Teach for India, etc. And I think those projects will be needed to create deep impact, to learn, to experiment. But the problem of India will not be solved by the small pilots. We have to take them to scale. We have about, I think, 650 million under the age of 25. I mean, that's more than 2x of any other country other than China. So I think if you're thinking of that scale and delivering life skills there, it's important that we learn from the small projects and scale it up at a system level, which means there needs to be a common vocabulary. I think NCF of 2005 helped, create a common competency on the academic side. The new NCF should do it on the life skills side. But at the same time, as I mentioned, the Life Skills Collaborative came together. They've spent the last 18 months with several stakeholders creating common glossary, frameworks, as well as assessment tools. So assessment tools are important because, again, if you have to scale something, you have to measure it, you have to make sure it's effective. And out of that, we have a few assessment tools that are now being piloted at a large scale in 4 states. So I think that's another development in the ecosystem. I think a lot of state governments and CBSE have launched their own programs around life skills, Delhi being one of them, CBSE being the other. And in fact, they've partnered with YW Next, with UVA as well. But I would say, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. We have the basics, some of the basics in place. We have some pilots and projects and blended learning in place, because again, we will need to, drive technology solutions to help us get to the end outcome, given the scale we are talking about. And the last thing I do want to point out is we have 10 million teachers in a very overworked system. And so if we have to deliver things at scale, we have to use our existing systems. Existing systems means schools to a large extent, and of course, ITIs, vocational training institutes. And this will need to be delivered through an overburdened system, which is still playing catch up. So I would say, as we think of our solutions, the common assessments, the common vocabulary, the blended solutions, we have to find aids, lesson plans, activities which will help our teachers deliver these solutions. So let me just pause there.
That's very helpful overview, Geeta, of what are the macro developments that have happened in this ecosystem of late, and what are almost some of the wish list, or almost the kind of things that all of us should try and make happen in the coming years. Picking from there, come to you, Yas. Given your global experience of seeing this in many countries now and being closely now associated in India as well, given what Geeta is describing, what stage of maturity do you see this ecosystem is at? And if I were to zoom out a little bit from there, how important would the trajectory of this ecosystem be of life skills in India, so that we really realize and actualize our demographic dividend as a country? So over to you, Yas, with these thoughts.
Thank you, Gaurav. first of all, it is my great pleasure in joining this important conversation on the World Skills Day in India. The country is shaping the trajectory of global recovery and growth through its gold mine of young talents, innovation ecosystem, and engaged citizens. Today, 1.2 billion people around the world are between 15 and 24 years old. Of these, over 300 million living in India. This is a massive number. This is the largest generation of youth in our planet's history. And it is on the verge of a massive demographic transition, where within the decade, 1 billion Indians will join the working age population very soon. UNICEF recognized the quality education as the accelerator for this generation. As development policy practitioners in India, we are well aware of the clear link between technical proficiencies and empowerment. But we are increasingly learning of the key role life skills play in reducing inequalities and exclusion, and opening up opportunity for young people, in empowering young people to take positive action, participate in their communities, engage in continuous learning, protect themselves, and promote health and positive social relationships. I think asking what stage of maturity the Indian life skills ecosystem is in might not be a right question, Gaurav. India has rapidly become a leader on new economies, and all these new sectors are being led by young people, and the young change makers. Technology startups, e-commerce, creator economy, and gig economy, bringing traditional MSMEs into the 21st century with digital tools and the new marketing and linkages and so forth. The life skill ecosystem has evolved in conjunction with the need created by these transformations and given further impetus by other big changes. Our digital future, changing nature of our work, complex challenges like intersectional deprivations, pandemics, and climate changes. I'm thrilled to see that the key government initiatives like Skill India are aiming to expand into multi-skilling and cross-sectoral skills. The next step will be to equip all young people with basic life skills. The 21st century skills and life skills portfolio doesn't just help build the economy. It helps build the confidence and nurtures a growth mindset of young people. It allows young people to forge creative and resilient career path. It contributes to an overall holistic approach to education from early childhood, continuing through the adolescence into adulthood. And it engages young people in a lifelong process of learning. From UNICEF's global experience, I could bring you so many stories of impact and change. So this is a system that allows us to think creatively about the entire value chain of education and skilling, and dividends in India could be multifold. Over to you.
So thanks, Yas, and it's of course encouraging to hear what you're saying, which essentially saying that India is leading some of the transitions that are happening, and accordingly the ecosystem needs to respond to that. Coming to Young Warrior next specifically, and coming to Abhishek with that, How do you think, Abhishek, the program that has happened over the last almost a year now, or more than that, has contributed to shaping the life skills ecosystem and the journey in the country? And if you could also share some specific learnings from the program, that would be helpful for the audience.
Sure. Thank you, Gaurav. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the launch of the Young Warrior Next report. I'd just like to again welcome Sri Sanjay Kumarji, Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Nitish Kumar Mishraji, Joint Secretary, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, AIM, and Dr. Saha, Director, Skill Education and CBSE. It's a privilege to have you all with us to participate on this very special occasion. I remember the idea of Young Warrior Next came into being last year when Ravi Venkateshan, our then chair of Yuva Board, came up with this idea of academic gap year equivalent for children, since school were closed, and he said that, you know, if schools are closed, and what would you do? You probably go for a gap year to learn. And that was May 2021. The first note was more like designing an academic gap year. So it's a matter of pride to be here today, bringing the curtains down on the pilot project at least, and getting so much learning. To your question, Gaurav, see, the importance of life skills, I think, has been known for a while. I remember back in 2009 when I started working first time with Beable. One of the differentiators we wanted to build was what we then called soft skills. And we included everything, soft skills into every technical education program. Dr. Reddy's foundation at that time had a very strong life skills inclusion in their programs. And over last 1 decade or so, these life skills have been embedded in the most government skilling programs. However, a few things remained as niggles, right? Right from what do we call it? Soft skills, employability skills, 21st century skills. So the umbrella term is not clear, and then every term inside, which is the definition of skills, is just we aren't on the same page. And in some of the cases, when I went to meet people about this, we got stuck in the semantics of what comes first and what comes later, and we couldn't move beyond. The second thing, and I'm sort of repeating what Geeta is saying, so Geeta, pardon me for this, but you didn't leave much to talk. The second was obviously the assessment tool side, which is that if you could, government put, and rightly so, put an emphasis on the assessments, and the assessments for the life skill side was a little muddy. So the focus sort of shifted towards the technical and vocational assessments, and therefore the importance of the life skills in that sense started coming down. And a third problem that I saw as a practitioner was that there was a sort of a Puritan belief that imparting life skills is a very intense affair. It requires heavy facilitation in a very in-person, small classroom setting. And I think these 3 questions were the questions that we have tried to answer in Young Warrior Next to some extent, right? The first question has been answered largely by Life Skills Collaborative, which has done a great job of creating the glossary work, etc. And then standardized tool was developed. In the Young Warrior Next, I think we were able to administer this tool to a very large number of young people and try to solve this with at least 4 skills to begin with. And finally, we broke this taboo of saying that the life skills can only be taught in a high touch, in-class model. At least try to experiment on that to understand whether are there some skills which require lesser facilitation? Are there some skills where technology can work, so on and so forth? And I think we have some answers and a lot to follow up on. Very quickly to your second question, I think I just want to quickly end by mentioning 2 points and I want to focus on the collaborative part of Young Warrior Next. There's this saying that says it takes a village to raise a child, right? And as has been the case of entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, when I did some work with Delhi government, I found for the second time that a successful and a scalable program has to be owned by several organizations and individuals, and has to have a strong government support. So this time round in Young Warrior Next, the program was validated by more than 15 organizations, managed by multiple organizations at all times. And I think as a backbone organization, there are big lessons here for Yuva. And we are hoping that we get to bring the ecosystem together on the issues of young people. The second one, which is sort of a reinforcement for us in the collaboration, is that work. And this I'm saying on a lighter note, but working in collaborative manner is in some ways non-intuitive. It's messy. It's sometimes slow. Different people have different ideas and styles of working. Managing that can be tiresome. All the time, your team saying that, can we do it ourselves, please? We'll do it faster, better. But I think once realize that if you want to scale, then maybe it's not slow and steady, but slow and messy that once wins the race. So I'll end with that. Thank you.
I completely agree with you, Abhishek. I think good points made. I know we're running out of time. I'll just quickly want to just end with one thing. On this auspicious day of the World Youth Skills Day, I want to almost take many commitments from the three of you as to what's that one thing that your organization would do in the next 2 years to contribute to this life skills ecosystem in the country. We can go to Geeta, Abhishek, and then Yas. Just one sentence or two sentences, could share that. That'll be great, and then we can have the panel.
Yeah, I mean, there are three things we are doing. I'll put it in one sentence. One is to say we will continue our small projects with our partners, not for profit. And through that, I think we do want to reach 3 million students over the next 3 years. Second, as you know, we work a lot with state governments. I think the next academic year, we feel we will be ready to launch our life skills interventions in the states as well at a large scale manner. And that itself, and once integrated in the curriculum and with assessment, I think that would have a great impact. And third, which is a little bit unlike what we've done in the past, but here we've taken a call that we will continue to play a strong role in the ecosystem in terms of creating assessment benchmarks, repositories of what's worked, these pilots like YW Next. So as everybody's not reinventing the wheel. So I'll pause there.
Great, that's great, Geeta. Abhishek.
Sure. No, I think just to carry on with what Geeta said, I mean, one of the commitments that we have is that we will scale up Young Warrior Next program. So working with at least 3 to 5 partners that have shown very clear success and scale it up and create, but at the same time do some experimentation as well to continue on the skills is one commitment that we have, apart from the overall commitment that we have to life skills, focusing on the life skills as far as education and skills goes.
Thanks, Abhishek. Final word to you, Yas.
Thank you. The key learning of Young Warrior Next for me is looking towards the future of life skill ecosystem has been the value of partnerships. UNICEF is very much looking forward to working with Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sport, Atali Innovation Mission, the CBSC, and other government partners, and their foundation, and other private sector partners. That's number one. Number two, the core of our work on life skill is the idea of leaving no one behind. Life skill bridge inequalities by bringing soft skills to young people who may not always have access to the same exposure and opportunity that their more affluent and urban peers might have. So UNICEF is going to definitely focus on equity and particularly on the gender transformative approach in these initiatives. Over to you. Thanks.
That's an outstanding note to end the panel on. And thank you, Geeta, Yas, Abhishek, for sharing your thoughts on this important topic again, shaping life skills in the country. Back to you, Charvi.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav. It was phenomenal to hear the commitments that our panelists are ready to undertake to improve the lives of many young people like me. Now I would like to invite our special guest, Dr. Biswajit Saha, Director, Skill Education, CBSE, to address the audience.
Thank you, Charu. Good morning, one and all. Respected Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Sanjay Kumar Sir, Professor Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission, Joint Secretary of Ministry of Youth Affairs, and of course, other dignitaries, specific panel, Abhishek, Gita, and a representative, Mr. Kimura from UNICEF, and other eminent panelists. It is a proud moment for all of us to be here in this momentous occasion and to celebrate the World Youth Skill Day. And I think the program structure itself showing us, of course, Abhishek mentioned that it's a messy collaborations, but here three ministries are together with the civil society. I think that itself shows the commitment and how and what way we are planning to equip the youth with skill for employment, decent work, and entrepreneurships by leveraging partnership. So thus it is timely that we have gathered to discuss the finding of Yuva Young Warrior Next report on the effective delivery of life skills to the student. The evolving world's demand, the way which we prepare for youth for the future, also evolve and act in their holistic development. It was in recognition of this that India's new education policy 2020 chose to center 21st century skills in the curriculum, and the design process in such that whether it is national curriculum framework 2022 is definitely going to bring the curriculum pattern both for the school education and higher education, so that ultimately our generations can face towards creativity, progressing, and how they would be globally active citizens once they land up in the market. So one way, these skills broadly consist of learning skills, life skills, and of course, literacy skills. The importance of the skills has long been recognized with even National Curriculum Framework 2005, which Gita was trying to mention. So life skills are particularly important because they prepare young peoples to lead successful everyday lives. So the skill set of individuals may differ depending on their age, life skills, and vital across all age groups as they allow the development of personality. These skills encompasses areas such as leadership, productivity, and social skills. They allow students to fulfill their responsibility and duties towards not only individual self, also with the school, and gradually family, and of course in the larger pattern is towards the nation. Student can become good citizen and responsible human being who are aware of their potential and competence. YW Next program serves important initiative in taking forward the vision of NEP 2020, focus on life skills, and CBSE as a key partner to YW Next and facilitated scaling pilot interventions by assessing with teachers, engagement in both government and private schools. This helped the interventions to reach 80,000 young peoples across 12 states. And chatbot is reached more than, it's in approximately 500,000 young peoples have accessed this chatbot. And ultimately, this partnership between CBSE and UA has also resulted in class life skills training initiative to introduce student to life skills via chatbot and subsequent monitoring through their task completion status by the teacher. So that way, besides this usual curriculum transaction, that additional effort has been taken so that this kind of activities, and especially during this COVID pandemic, home-based learning through this kind of chatbot interventions was quite fabulous. And in fact, many students and especially parents' feedbacks are really amazing because they want to involve the child in a manner so that practical day-to-day problems, what parents are struggling or parents are doing on day-to-day basis, they are being introduced to the practically to the student. So YWX next report is beneficial as it not only adds the knowledge about the importance of life skills, but also emphasis successful interventions that would be key in effective delivery of life skills. So overall, I hope that we can all learn from the insights of the report and address the barrier of inhibiting and development of our youth. Thank you once again, and hope today's celebrations will not only mark, but a new journey for the nations is just started. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saha, for emphasizing the importance of life skills in making National Education Policy 2020 a success. Now, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Dr. Chinta Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, for his address.
Thank you so much, Charvi. Greetings, everybody. Good morning. It's a real pleasure and honor to be with you all. All the senior government officials, as well as members of international organizations and many others. I was really happy to hear that there are 15 entities in this partnership. That is a real proxy for the work of an ecosystem builder. Delighted to be with you all on this World Skills Day. And also congratulations to everybody on putting together this Young Warrior Next report. I must say that all of you are doing, all of us, it's great to be a part of this. This work is extremely critical because let me share a few perspectives from our vantage point at Atal Innovation Mission. And let me also share it from the perspective that, a lot of times when we talk about these issues at the policy level, people tend to become statistics, right? So we're talking about numbers in the aggregate and so on. So let me take it to the people end of this conversation. Since I have moved to Delhi for a year, I meet many young people who typically approach me because they think I am in the government in a certain position, therefore I will be able to help them get a job. So, and I haven't succeeded yet in getting anybody a job. To be very honest, I tried to send their papers to people I know and say, hey, if you have an opportunity, here's a young person, etc. But in the process, the one thing that I do is I ask them for their resume. And to the extent my time permits, I sit down with them. Well, I edit their resume to strengthen their resume to the extent that I can, right? And sit down with them to understand what is it that's blocking them. And largely it is this, what we are talking about as the 21st century skills. The content of what their degree was, many of them are doing okay on. But this whole idea of how to package yourself, how to present yourself, how to negotiate a job interview, all of that is something that requires a tremendous amount of a tremendous amount of sort of effort, either on one's own or along with mentors or whatever. So I've been privileged to work with a number of such young people and to realize that unless we do something about our available demographic dividend, it's all going to be fleeted away, you know. So we really, this is really in some ways an emergency, and today's report really responds to that emergency. Earlier, Geeta, when Geeta, Yas, and Abhishek spoke, and very insightful comments they offered, Geeta spoke about the idea of scale, right? So the one question, I mean, we are also an ecosystem builder, right? As Atal Innovation Mission, Atal Tinkering Labs in particular, which has embraced this idea of 21st century skills. The two questions that I constantly find myself asking, and this is a question for all ecosystem builders, right? One is, when can I exit? Can I exit this idea of what I'm trying to build? What are the conditions under which I can say that I am done? Right? That's one question. And the second question is, what is needed if I understand those conditions? Then what is needed to get there? So far, our discussions here at Atal Innovation Mission. Let me first say a little bit about the Atal Tinkering Lab. So in schools, we have built we have so far built now 10,000 maker spaces in schools of India, right? So these are places, these are labs in schools for 6th to 12th grade, where there are 3D printers, mechanical desk, electronic desk, and so you can learn about, you can think about problems of your surroundings and come up with a solution to such problems. In some ways, these spaces have done much more to learning 21st century skills than the regular curricula. The Atal Tinkering Lab is not a part of the curriculum, which is its strength and weakness. The strength part is that inside these labs, kids are not tested, they are challenged, right? Kids don't consume a solution somebody created, they create a solution. Inside these labs, they realize that a problem may have many solutions. It's not somebody's prescribed solution. All of these are fantastic learning moments, right? And then they get to present their idea, sell their idea, work with a mentor. All of these interesting things are happening. And where it works, it's really magical to see how it is transforming people, because this is the only space inside our schools where the problem precedes the solution. In the rest of the education, solution precedes the problem. You've taught somebody a solution. Now you're asking them in a test to repeat what has been taught to them. So anyway, so this is, and 10,000 may feel like a great scale, right? I mean, it's taken us a lot of effort to get here, but it is still very small, right? Because there are 260,000 Indian schools, and we've only built 10,000 of them so far. So utilization of this infrastructure is what we are now focused on. But what I feel is that we will be, I do meet students who tell me that I have learned this skills of making and selling and packaging and telling my story, looking around for problems, solving it, and I am liberated. There are girls and boys, young girls and boys, who tell me that I feel really very good about it. But I feel that our job will be done if this turns into a movement. Our job will be done when this turns into a movement, right? it is not through any linear interventions that we are going to get there. We're going to get there only through non-linear interventions, right? Because the linear intervention would say, okay, I did 10,000, so X number of students got affected. I will do 10,000 more, 2X get affected. That's not how we will solve this demographic, opportunity for demographic dividend problem in any quick, in a reasonable time frame. So the question is, where will the non-linearity come from? And I think the non-linearity come from if the peer learning component is strengthened. So those who have learned it, if they can be teachers to those who have not learned it, their peer group, and we can create structures to do that, then I think this can turn into a movement. And so I think that's and if it does turn into a movement, and if people do it by themselves, then I think this business of empowering young people. But until then, I think we have to be at it. Once again, I think the work that is done here in the Young Warrior Next is really exceptional. I once again congratulate everybody. I look forward to being a part of this, and let's get it done fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chintan. As a young person myself, I resonate with the message on the role that life skills play in building entrepreneurship and innovation abilities. And funnily, I was also part of the Atal Tinkering Lab back when I was in high school. And that has aided me with my research with the American College of Cardiology and Freiling Biomedical Research Center. So it is truly life-changing, and I'm so glad that it is going further. And now it is my honor to invite our chief guest, Shri Sanjay Kumar, Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, for his address.
Thank you, Chavi. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. I'm very happy to see a few familiar faces and also some for the first time. So Mr. Kimura is there. Good morning to you. I see Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Dr. Vishwajit Saha, Geeta, Abhishek, my colleague here, Nitesh Mishra, who's Joint Secretary, he's working with me. Samagra Governance, Gaurav, and people whom I'm not being able to see, a warm good morning to all of you. I'm very happy and excited to be with you and to be able to speak to you and share some of my random thoughts this morning. First of all, today is World Youth Skill Day, and my greetings to you all. And I was looking at it. This year's theme is transforming youth skills for the future. So basically what we are talking about is what are the kind of 21st century skills which today's youth must have. Let me start first of all with the numbers. Mr. Kumura mentioned that what a fantastic number we have. And I think out of 1.2 billion people who qualify to be youth, almost a quarter of them happen to be in India. And I'll just share with you that some time back, I wrote a letter to UIDAI and I requested the CEO that if he could share with me the district-wise numbers of people who are in the age group of 15 and 29 and who've been issued a Aadhaar card. The number he shared with us is 378.4 million. So actual number would be a little more than that, assuming that not all of them have got it. So we are looking at a figure of about 400 million people. It's a huge number. How do you access them? DOYA is the department which works for youth in Government of India, and we primarily make an outreach to youth through two of our large organizations. One is NYKS and the other one is NSS. Now, there's a slight difference between the two, which all of you would be aware. NSS operates through an institutional framework of the educational institution. So we are looking at +2 students, and we are also looking at college-going students. So this number, we have calculated this number as of the present GR should be around 5 crores, 50 million. And out of that 50 million, NSS is being able to access 4. Then we come to the NYKS part of it, which was started in the year 1972. Then in 87, it was converted into a society. It primarily looks at youth who are out of the educational institutions and are rural. This number, again, would encompass the entire world of youth. But through our NYKS, we are being able to reach out to about 50 million youth. So if you add NSS as well as the NYKS, we're looking at about a figure of 10 million. So the reason why I give these numbers to you is just to suggest that we need to reach out more, and our work is unfinished. We need to strategize and also start thinking of a way to make an outreach to youth in greater numbers. And perhaps we feel that technology today, which has made the world very flat, it gives us an opportunity to reach out. So if you use a digital platform with a last mile connectivity of a mobile app, we'll be able to reach out to more and more youth and also communicate with them. This would also help us to create some kind of a loop back mechanism. So we can be aware of what the aspirants are, what the aspirations of the youth are, and what they are thinking, and accordingly customize our services and keep pushing it back on that unified digital platform. The second point I want to highlight today is what emanates from the National Education Policy 2020. Now, the National Education Policy 2020, it says that it aims to develop all capacities of human beings: intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, and moral in an integrated manner. So that encompasses the entire world of the kind of traits and the qualities we are looking at in a human being. And it also, to a certain extent, relates to what you are calling as a life skills. Because if you get empowered in these field, then the life skills which we are mentioning, which is related to self-awareness, communication, achievement orientation, problem solving, and collaboration, that to a large extent gets taken off. Now, what are the issues here? If you just bifurcate the two, if you look at the National Education Policy 2020, it says that our GR for secondary schools should be 100%. So the government is envisaging that each and every child in the school in the country gets at least 12 years of education. What happens when we come to higher education? The policy mentions that by 2035, the GR for higher education should be 50. So we don't expect that all our children or all our youth who do class 12th, they also go in for higher education. So if 50% of them go, but we need, the reason why I'm mentioning this is that we need to strategize differently for it. Now, let me come back to people who are part of the GR, and the current GR for higher education in the country is about 26 or 27. If by 2035 it goes up to 50, these are people who are part of the educational institutions. And what are the concerns here? And I think the concerns come out from the Indian Skill Report. And the Indian Skill Report, which came out in the year 2021, it says that as many as 45.9% of the graduates are employable. So only half are employable and half are not. And it gives figures and subject-wise also. And I was a little, I was looking at it and I was pretty disheartened to see when I looked at Polytechnic. In Polytechnic, it says that in the year 2021, only 25% people are employable. So that means the quality of education which we are providing through these institutions, it needs upgradation. B Pharma is 30%. And MCA, which is Masters in Computer Application, so-called backbone of the digital world, that has the lowest employability of 22.42%. So something is wrong somewhere, and we need to look at our curriculum and the way these institutions are being managed, so as to at least ensure that 100% of the people who are part of these institutions become employable. What does it do? It adds to the cost to the economy. If an engineer who is not employable and he's employed by some company, then they take almost about a year to make him employable once again. So they are reinvesting in him, adding cost to the economy. So that is one issue for people who are part of the educational institution and who are part of the higher education. What happens to people who are part of class 12th? So after 12th, you branch off. So what do? And there, I guess, the concept of vocational education kicks in. And vocational educational skills need to be given to these students through the institutional mechanism of our +2 schools. The education department is doing it starting from class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, but I think a lot more needs to be done. And I was looking at, again, the figures which conveys the enormity of the situation, that the vocational education as recommended in the 12th five-year plan for Indian workforce in the age group of 19 to 24 is less than 5%. Whereas this number is 52% in the US, Germany says 75%, South Korea, it is 96%. Now, what are the challenges? I think to some extent, these challenges are also coming from our culture, because often we don't want to work with our hands, and we often feel that anything which has got something to do with our hands has got a little lesser acceptability. So while we are coaching them on vocational education, we also need to do a study to see as to how this socio-behavioral pattern can be changed, where this message can be inculcated amongst our youth that working with your hand is also equally respectable as working with what you might say using skills of your brain. So this is going to be a major challenge for us, that if you go to school, how do you make children, how do you make the youth work with their hands? So I think we need to think about this. The third point I want to mention is that coming out of this pandemic has made us realize the kind of inequality which we have seen, which has increased in the rural areas primarily. From a personal, on a personal note, I have been witness to see the kind of digital inequality which has crept in. People who were at home, had access to a device and an internet connection, perhaps still could study during the pandemic. And yet people who are at home in the rural areas without access to a device and internet connection somehow lost out completely. Now, this is going to be, again, a major challenge for us. And inequality of the other kinds have also increased. So this pandemic has made us realize as to how important our inclusive development is going to be. I'm very happy that we are looking at the next warrior. We are saying the young warrior next. We're looking at 500,000 people who would be given skills. And I'm very excited that to partner with you and to see that we would be able collectively to make a difference in the life of our youth. The last point is just a random thought of mine, which I thought I'll share it. I think it's a little late in the day to do whatever about it. I am saying that why are we calling them a warrior? Because the moment you call somebody a warrior, you assume that there is a war out there. Now, when you were a COVID warrior, it was quite all right to use that figure, that word, because we were fighting a virus. We were fighting a virus and we were waging a war against a biological creature. But is the world of which we are a part, are we on war with either? Am I going to take out a sword and start slashing around? I mean, that is the imagery which comes out when you call somebody a warrior. So I would suggest that maybe we should think about it. And I was thinking that, okay, if you don't call somebody a warrior, then what else can we call? So some of the names which came to my mind was call them a young stars, young aspirants, heroes, champions, conquerors, exemplar. Maybe we can think of something better in Hindi or in English or whatever language of which we are a part. But warrior somehow connotes that there is a bad world out there, and Darwin's theory of evolution kicks in, which says that I have to be the fittest to be able to survive. Then some aesthetics, some humanity we lose in the process. But this is just a random thought which I will share with my colleagues. I agree with what my colleague Geeta was saying, that we need to go on scale as soon as possible. And whatever we do, we should go on scale, because I think the only thing we do not have is the luxury of time. So let us get on with it. I am very excited to be a part of this team, and let's get ahead, provide our youth as many services and as many methods available to them, skill them so they are able to go out and with their life skill, make a success of their lives, take care of their families, become good citizens. And what we in Doha say, that two things we do: personality building for nation building. So on this note, I once again thank all of you to give me an opportunity to talk to you. And I am very happy to be a part of it, and I look forward to being a very active participant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was truly supercharging experience to hear your views on the importance of 21st century skills for young people. I am in awe of the efforts led by the Government of India towards working with and for young people for a better future. And now, here comes the moment that we all have been waiting for, the release of the Young Warrior NXT report, Life Skills Delivery for Young People, Scalable Solutions for India. I would now request all the dignitaries to hold the report to the camera and mark the launch. It is truly a watershed moment for the life skills ecosystem in India, and a moment of celebration for all the partners, including young people, for contributing to the development of the report. On World Youth Skills Day 2022, we hope that this would add value to the efforts towards delivering life skills to young people at scale in India. Thank you, honorable dignitaries. The report can be accessed on UVA's website, www.uva.org/YWNext. Up next, we have a panel discussion on experience sharing by partners, including young people who participated in the program and facilitators. The panel shall be moderated by Mr. Mekin Maheshwari, founder and CEO, Udyam Learning Foundation. And on the panel, we have Ms. Komal Singh, a young person who participated in the pilot by Breakthrough, Mr. Shoaib Salim, a young person who participated in the pilot by Pyjam, Ms. Shubhangi Phule, a facilitator from Magic Bus Pilot, and Ms. Monal Jairam, co-founder and director of Kavlavya Education Foundation. Over to you, Mr. Mekin, to commence the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Charvi. Hello, everyone. And we're running a little over, so I'm going to get us started quickly. All right. Okay, so I think the report does a fantastic job of capturing learnings and insights from the 15-odd pilots that YW Next Collective ran together. Through this panel, I am hoping that we can hear some of the experiences and stories from the ground of what it was like to run these or participate in these. I'm actually, so in this panel, we have we have a couple of young people who experienced this, who I'm going to save for the last, so that they get to have the last word. I'd like to start with Monal from Kaivalya and ask Monal about her experience of enabling this pilot where life skills had to be transferred or life skills have to be acquired by young people. And the teachers who enable them play a pivotal role, right? And I think Kaivalya has a belief, and I'd like Monal to talk about it, but how could the teachers be enabled to develop and build these life skills in COVID times? So the challenges that COVID posed and the challenges that not being able to interact in physical media, some of the challenges that were posed by COVID. Monal, what was your experience of enabling this program in that environment, and how did you do it?
Thank you, Mikin. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, I just want to share that it is an extremely exciting moment for me personally, because this is something that has been very dear to me, this topic of life skills and social emotional learning and things like that. And I also want to thank you, Mikin, because I'm feeling very privileged that I'm actually part of a group which is young in age with this white hair. It feels fantastic to me. I am actually going to speak about the work that we've been doing in Junjunu. And specifically for this pilot, we ran this on 10,000 students from the government-run schools. So we work very, very hand in hand with the Department of Education in Junjunu. And these are students from 9 to 12 standard. We, of course, because of the COVID challenge, in the middle of the program, we had to drop some of the standards. We could only do some standards. So we did a lot of program design in the beginning, and then, program redesigning in the middle because of the COVID restrictions. And then, of course, the end line happened, and we saw what we seem to have done. But I want to take a minute to share what we were doing throughout. First of all, we were implementing with the students and with about 300 teachers and 110 schools and principals. We were implementing a curriculum which is known as social emotional ethical learning curriculum, which is a self-transformative practice developed by a team of SEL experts and scientists like Daniel Goleman and Dr. Kimberly, and this is developed under the leadership of His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji. So for UNICEF Yuva pilot, we chose to bring our work in social emotional ethical learning and map it with the relevant skills, the UNICEF skills that we were talking about, the 5 skills. And then we kind of readjusted the curriculum and contextualized the curriculum. But some of the things that are inherent in the curriculum that I'm talking about, I think that work pretty well with the students, and allow me to share a little bit of that. So this C-learning curriculum actually is a pro-social educational program. And it is designed to teach social, emotional, ethical competencies all in together. It is designed to favor a constructivist approach to teaching and learning. And I know that NCF 2005 and NEP and everything talks about constructivist approach, but there is a methodology, therefore, that one needs to use in the classroom because of what you call as the constructivist approach. Therefore, it relies a lot on how teaching learning environment is built in the classroom by the educators. And so that, the young people are encouraged to think critically, engage in reflective practices, and develop an understanding of how they are undergoing personal transformation. The educators are expected, therefore, not to instruct, but rather to create experiential learning, which means that the students receive experience, use critical insight in faculty, assess their personal experiences, work with each other in collaboration on a particular problem that is being discussed, share personal experiences, and then land at some aha moment. I call it aha moment because it's actually a kind of a moment when some mindset shift happens. And after which the student, of course, goes through a process of internalizing that new realization. So these are activities designed to encourage a lot of peer conversations, working together, and yet coming up with individual insights. Now, this learning experience was delivered, like I said, through activities, but as it may be very clear from the description, it needs a lot of practice, and it is immersive in nature for it to be sustainable, long-term, deeply transformative. And so for ensuring scale, what we have added as AF, what we have added to the delivery mechanism is that we do this with teachers in government system. We build a cohort of teachers, headmasters, and the block or cluster level officials whose responsibility is in the system is to facilitate and coach the processes in the schools. And we've organized this delivery in such a way that we first build the cohort of teachers as C-learning practitioners. So she doesn't get trained as a C-learning dissemination person, but first she gets trained as a practitioner herself. Once she gets used to this kind of usage of practice daily, and she starts working with her own competencies like self-awareness, critical thinking, self-regulation, stuff like that. We also build the headmasters as C-learning coaches, and then a separate cadre of facilitators from amongst the government-chosen RPs. And both these sets of people from the system are also treated as learners and then periodically brought together in what we call as a peer learning community conversations. So which means that I am practicing an X thing in self-awareness, but I'm getting stuck here. Or I'm practicing this in the classroom with my students and they are getting stuck here. These kind of conversations are facilitated in those peer learning communities. Now, like I said, this therefore is an extremely immersive experience also for the teachers and for the headmasters. And okay, I have very little time, it seems, but allow me some time, please. I think what we did for the UNICEF Yuva pilot is that we wanted to test out if this longer practice that I am talking about can be shortened with a decent, learning outcome, and can the educator become a role model within that time-bound situation, and can the student receive and also start practicing within that? And I think we are fairly happy with what happened. Some of the insights that we learned from our observation, and these are all practitioner observations and not scientific observations. But I think, first of all, the curriculum that I'm talking about itself worked in terms of, helping students learn these 21st century skills that we were just talking about, or the life skills that we were just talking about. The second thing that we learned is, critical to create. It is absolutely critical to create SEL-enabled ecosystem, and here I mean by ecosystem, a system of teachers, headmasters, district officials, that whole network of government-run agencies, by aligning with the key stakeholders from the beginning. So, as I mentioned, within the system. It has to be within the system, for the system, and by the system, with us in the background. And I think this is what worked, though it was a shorter duration, this is what worked, because it was part of the system and it was run as with system in the forefront and not us in the forefront. The other thing that we learned is that SEL or life skills is about how it is taught and experienced rather than what is taught. So whatever is the activity does, it is immaterial. It is about that learning experience that I was just talking about. And thus the training and dialoguing is extremely critical. And building the teachers as role models is critical. Even in a shorter program like this pilot, I think we saw some movement in that. The other thing that we learned is that, it should be part of the school's agenda. So, is it part of the classroom? Is it part of the assembly? Is it part of the other processes that are there in the school? Of course, we were not able to do something like integrating it in this assembly because of the COVID restrictions. But otherwise, it kind of works pretty well, is what we realized.
Monal, I'll have to request you to wrap quickly.
Yes. Last two things I want to share. I think we also realize that change may not be immediate because meaning making process takes longer. But I think when we see what happened in the classrooms and with our educators, those who are inclined, they move faster. They align to this kind of a thing faster, and those who are not, it takes more time. It's a natural this thing. And for sustainable change, like I've been saying, balancing between being a practitioner yourselves and being able to deliver the SEL activities, this needs to be focused upon in a big way. And the last thing, as I was saying, was that, peer learning, an enabling situation has to be created, for peer learning for all of the people. So one needs to treat the teacher, the headmaster, and the student, everyone as a student at some point of time, because all of us are learning together to deliver this, which is very different from what you do in academics, where, you learn a technique and go and deliver. So I think some of these things I wanted to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monal. Thank you for the emphasis on the ecosystem and drawing it all together, that how everyone needs to be a learner and stay a learner. I'd now like to invite Shubhangi, who is a facilitator and was a facilitator of this program with Magic Bus. And Shubhangi, अगर आप शेयर कर सकें कि जब आप टीचर्स और एचएम्स के साथ काम कर रही थी इस कार्यक्रम में, इस पायलट में, तो आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस रहा, क्या चैलेंजेस रहे और उनको आपने कैसे ओवरकम किया?
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर। सभी को गुड मॉर्निंग। मेरा नाम शुभांगी फुले है, मैं प्रॉपर भंडारा से हूँ और मैं मैजिक बस इंडिया फाउंडेशन में एज ए स्कूल सपोर्ट ऑफिसर इस पोस्ट पे कार्यरत हूँ। जब हम टीचर और एचएम के साथ जब हमने काम करना शुरू किया, तब सबसे पहले हमने टीचर्स को मतलब ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड किया। तो उसमें हमें बताना था, मतलब हमने ये कहा कि आपको बच्चों के साथ सेशन डिलीवर करना है, उसी हिसाब से जो ट्रेनिंग है वो प्रोवाइड करना स्टार्ट हो गई। बट जब सेशंस लेने की पारी आई तो आपको पता ही है कि टीचर्स आर टीचर्स, तो उस टाइम पे टीचर्स ने कहा कि हाँ हम लेंगे। बट जब एचएम के पास हम गए तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ हम देखते हैं, जब आपको लास्ट पीरियड बचेगा उस टाइम हमारे टीचर हेल्प कर लेंगे। बट जब हमने टीचर मतलब बच्चों के साथ इंटरेक्ट करना मतलब शुरू किया, तो उस टाइम पे एचएम सर खुद बाहर आके उन्होंने देखा कि हाँ बच्चे किस तरह से जो इंजॉय कर रहे हैं, उसके साथ साथ सीख रहे हैं। उस टाइम सर ने वो सभी जो हमारा सेशन था वो देखा और उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ आप सेशन भी ले सकते हैं, हमारे टीचर्स भी ये सेशन हेल्ड करेंगे, उसके साथ साथ जो स्टार्ट का पीरियड रहता है वो आपको प्रोवाइड किया जाएगा। सो दिस इज अ बिग चेंज फॉर अस। उस टाइम पे जो एचएम का और टीचर्स का जो सपोर्ट था वो बहुत ज्यादा हमारे लिए उपयोगी था, ऐसे कह सकती हूँ मैं। उसके साथ साथ जो हमारे टीचर्स थे जो कहते थे कि हाँ टीचर्स, उनका कहना था कि हाँ पनिशमेंट जरूरी है बच्चों के लिए, जब तक उन्हें पनिशमेंट मिलती नहीं, हमने भी यही सीखा है पनिशमेंट मिलेगी तो बच्चे सीखेंगे। वो एटीट्यूड जो टीचर्स का था वो चेंज होने लगा सेशन के माध्यम से। उन्होंने खुद कहा कि मेरा एक्सीडेंट हो चुका था, तो उस टाइम पे मैं बहुत चिड़चिड़ा सा हो गया था। मैं बच्चों के साथ उसी टोन से बात करता था, बैठो, ऐसा करो, ये पढ़ना ही है, इस टोन में बात करता था। बट जब मैंने लाइफ स्किल सेशन बच्चों के साथ प्रोवाइड कर मतलब बच्चों को सिखाना स्टार्ट किया, ग्राउंड में बच्चों के साथ बातचीत की उस सेशन के माध्यम से, लाइफ स्किल सेशन के माध्यम से, तो वो मुझ में जो चेंज है वो मैं खुद बताना चाहूंगा कि मैं अच्छे से बच्चों के साथ प्यार से बात करने लगा। जो चेंज मुझे फील हुआ तो मैं चाहूंगा कि हाँ, ये चेंज बच्चों में भी आए। उन्होंने कहा कि बच्चों जो मुझसे बात करने में हिचकिचाते थे, वो बच्चे मुझसे बात करने लगे। क्वेश्चन क्लासरूम में हाथ ऊपर करके उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ सर, मुझे क्वेश्चन है, मैं पूछना चाहूंगा। तो वो चेंज उन्हें वहां पे देखने को मिला। उसके साथ साथ मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट था कि कम्युनिटी में, हम जब कोविड आया तो हमने कम्युनिटी में जाना स्टार्ट किया। तो उस टाइम में भी टीचर्स ने को भी ये लगा कि हाँ, लाइफ स्किल सेशन इम्पोर्टेंट है। तो उस टाइम में हमारे साथ साथ कम्युनिटी में टीचर्स ने आके सेशन कंडक्ट करना स्टार्ट कर दिया। ये भी बहुत 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 ही बड़ा हमारे लिए चेंज था। हम जब कम्युनिटी में काम कर रहे थे तो जो स्टेक होल्डर्स रहते हैं हमारे, सरपंच, सरपंच में हमें ये चेंज देखने को मिला कि स्टडी ग्रुप करके हमने एक स्टार्ट किया था। बच्चों को ऐसा एक जगह प्रोवाइड कर दी सरपंच ने जहाँ पे बच्चे आके पढ़ सके। वहां पे लाइट की सुविधा नहीं थी, उन्होंने ये सब देखते हुए बच्चों के लिए लाइट वहां पे लगा के दिए, और वहां पे एक स्टडी ग्रुप स्टार्ट हुआ। वो फर्स्ट टाइम था कि बच्चों के लिए सरपंच ने, स्टेक होल्डर ने एक ऐसी जगह प्रोवाइड कर दी जहाँ पे वो पढ़ सके, अपने मत वहां पे प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं। और बच्चे खुद वहां पे मतलब सरपंच के पास गए थे और उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ, हमें ऐसा ऐसा प्लेस चाहिए। तो वो डेयरिंग और डेडिकेशन, वो कम्युनिकेशन देखते हुए सरपंच ने कहा दिस इज अ चेंज। उसके साथ साथ हमारे कम्युनिटी कोऑर्डिनेटर है जो बच्चों के यहाँ जाके होम विजिट्स करते थे। तो जब वो हम मैजिक बस में बच्चों के लिए एक स्टडी कॉर्नर उन्हें बनाना बताते हैं, तो बच्चे स्टडी करते हैं, बट उन्हें क्या बनना है उन्होंने वो डिसाइड ही नहीं किया था। बट स्टडी कॉर्नर के थ्रू, वो लाइफ स्किल सेशन के थ्रू उन्होंने ये डिसाइड किया कि मुझे क्या बनना है। वो डिसाइड करके उन्होंने स्टडी ग्रुप में आए मतलब लगाना स्टार्ट किया। वो चेंज पेरेंट्स ने देखा। पेरेंट्स ने उन्हें, एक ही रूम था फिर भी उन्होंने वो जगह उनको प्रोवाइड की कि हाँ, आप यहाँ पे वो स्टडी कॉर्नर बनाइए। पेरेंट्स ने जगह भी प्रोवाइड की, उन्हें कैसे बनाना है, क्या क्या ऐड करना है, वो पेरेंट्स ने भी उनको हेल्प की। ये बहुत ही बहुत बहुत बड़ी बात थी हमारे लिए, और उसके साथ साथ हमारी पूरी टीम के लिए। और इतनी बेहतरीन तरह से उन्होंने वो स्टडी कॉर्नर बनाए। वहां पे उन्होंने लिखा कि मैजिक बस, थैंक यू फॉर मैजिक बस, आपने ये हमें प्रोवाइड किया लाइफ स्किल एक्सेट्रा। वो बहुत बड़ी बात थी। उसके साथ साथ एचएम्स को भी टीचर्स के फोन आने लगे कि हाँ, हमारे बच्चों में, जो मेरा बेटा बहुत ज्यादा चिड़चिड़ा हुआ करता था, वो अभी अच्छे से बात कर रहा है। जब कोविड आया तो मतलब ऑप्शन ही नहीं था किसी के गांव तक पहुंचना वगैरह, तो हम वर्चुअली सेशन भी हेल्ड करने लगे। सो उस टाइम पे घर में एक ही फोन रहता था, तो हम कोशिश करते थे कि उनके टाइम के अकॉर्डिंग हम उनके लिए अवेलेबल हो पाए, बट कभी कभी नहीं हो पाता था। तो पेरेंट्स ने अब,
सॉरी इंटरप्ट कर रहा हूं मैं आपको, पर क्या आप कोशिश करेंगी जल्दी से अब रैप करने का?
हाँ हाँ सर, थैंक यू सर। तो मतलब पेरेंट्स ने उनके टाइम, जो सेशन का टाइम रहता था उसी टाइम पे वो मोबाइल घर पे छोड़ के चले जाते थे, और इस तरह से जो सेशन है वो डिलीवर होना स्टार्ट हो गए। सो थैंक यू सर, यही तक था। मैं इसके लिए सर सबसे पहले हमारे जो निकी सर है उनको थैंक यू कहना चाहूंगी कि ये अपॉर्चुनिटी उन्होंने हमें दी, और हमने बहुत सारी चीजें खुद में और बच्चों को प्रोवाइड जिस तरह से करना चाहिए हमने उसकी कोशिश की। थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू शुभांगी। नहीं, आई थिंक आपने इस सेशन में वो जो जॉय होता है जो बच्चे एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं, और उस जॉयसनेस के कारण लाइफ स्किल्स जिस तरीके से बढ़ा है ग्राउंड पे, आई थिंक वो हम सबको अवगत कराया. सो थैंक यू सो मच शुभांगी. Now I have two young bright kids, young people, and I'm super excited to hear their experiences from their pilots. तो शोएब, मैं पहले आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा, Shoaib, what was your experience in the last few months as you worked?
Why isn't his video on?
Shoaib, can you hear me? Shoaib, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या?
Yes भैया आ रही है.
चलिए, हाँ जी. तो आई थिंक आप ऑडियंस सुनना चाहेगी आपका एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा इस प्रोग्राम में, और हाँ, आपकी जर्नी कैसी थी?
तो मैं स्टार्ट कर. भैया आवाज एक हो रहा है.
शोएब, हमको आपकी आवाज आ रही है. अगर आप बात कर सकते हो तो कैरी ऑन. शोएब, एक बार कोशिश करोगे?
आप ठीक है?
हाँ हाँ, हमको आवाज आ रही है आपकी. गो अहेड.
हाँ, तो मैं स्टार्ट करूंगा कि मेरा नाम शोएब है और मैं 9th ग्रेड में हूँ. मैं पाजाम फाउंडेशन का एक स्टूडेंट हूँ और मैं पुणे से बिलोंग करता हूँ. तो मैं जो पाजाम ने जो कोड मित्र ऐप जो लॉन्च किया उसके बारे में अभी बताना चाहूंगा. जो कोड मित्र जो ऐप है वो उसके अंदर जो अलग अलग कोर्सेस है, लॉजिकल पजल्स है, उसके लिए बनाया गया है ताकि हम उसे सॉल्व कर सके, लॉजिकल थिंकिंग वो सब समझ सके. उसके अंदर ये अलग अलग कोर्सेस है. तो उसके अंदर जो मुझे प्रोग्रामिंग विद ब्लॉक कोर्सेस जो था वो अच्छा लगा था कि उसके अंदर हमें ब्लॉक्स के जरिए प्रोग्रामिंग जो सिखाई जाती थी, लॉजिकल रीजनिंग कैसे होती है, वो जो उसमें अलग अलग लेवल्स और टास्क जो होते थे, उस टास्क को कंप्लीट करने से पहले हमें एक वीडियो आता था, एक शॉर्ट वीडियो जिसमें हमें एक्सप्लेन किया जाता कि उस टास्क जो है लेवल है उसको कैसे कंप्लीट करना है. यानी मतलब डायरेक्ट आंसर नहीं बताया जाता कि इसको ये आंसर है, इसको सिर्फ लिख दो. मतलब मैथ्स में जैसे पहले सॉल्व एग्जांपल्स आते हैं वैसे ही था, और बाद में हमें प्रैक्टिस सेट दिया जाता था यानी टास्क. तो उस टास्क को कंप्लीट करना पड़ता था, तो उसमें काफी ज्यादा अच्छा लगता था वो वाला. काफी मजा भी आता था, हम वीडियो देख के उसको समझते थे, फिर सॉल्व करते थे, टास्क कंप्लीट करते थे. फिर बीच में कुछ डिफिकल्ट लेवल्स भी आते थे हमें. उसमें मैथ्स में जैसे हम आगे आगे बढ़ते जाते हैं तो उसमें डिफिकल्ट सम्स वगैरह आते, वैसे इसमें भी था. लेकिन लॉजिकल रीजनिंग पजल जैसा था, वो पजल जो थे वो हमें सॉल्व करने थे. तो उसमें लगा कि मुझसे सॉल्व नहीं होगा, ये काफी ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट है, मैं छोड़ दूंगा. लेकिन मैंने ऐसा नहीं किया, मैंने ट्राई किया, फिर उसको सॉल्व किया, पता चला इसको ऐसे सॉल्व करना था, इजी है. तो मैथ्स में हमें जब पहले पिछली जो अभी हमको पहले मल्टीप्लिकेशन डिवीजन जब हम छोटे थे तब काफी डिफिकल्ट लगता था, लेकिन अभी काफी इजी है. तो वैसे ही इसमें भी जो वैसे सम सिमिलर टास्क जो अगले लेवल्स में आते थे फिर वो काफी इजीली सॉल्व करने लगा मैं. फिर ऐसा फिर ऐसा काफी ज्यादा अच्छा लगता था मुझे उसको सॉल्व करने में. फिर बाद में उसी कोड मित्र ऐप के अंदर ही एक ओपन लैब नाम की चीज थी, स्क्रैच टूल. ओपन लैब यानी ओपनली हम फ्रीली जो चीजें थे, हमें जो कुछ भी नॉलेज मिला है वो हम वहाँ डाल सकते थे कि जो कुछ भी हमने सीखा है उसको बनाए, हम अपने हिसाब से उसको अपग्रेडेशन चेंजेस करके हमें जो चाहे वो कर सकते हैं स्क्रैच टूल के अंदर. तो ये मेरे को काफी अच्छा लगा कोड मित्र ऐप के अंदर. वो फीचर उसके अंदर ऑलरेडी था, स्क्रैच टूल ओपन लैब जिसका नाम है ओपन लैब. तो मेरे पास हमेशा मोबाइल जो हमेशा रहता तो नहीं था, तो मैं साइंस मैथ्स का होमवर्क करके फिर स्कूल की स्टडीज कंप्लीट करके मम्मी से परमिशन लेके उनका फोन लेता था. फिर उसमें कोड मित्र ऐप के अंदर जाके पजल जो टास्क जो होते थे वो कंप्लीट करता था. ऐसा काफी ज्यादा मजा आता था. फिर इसी के जरिए मैं का बहुत कुछ लॉजिकल रीजनिंग, पजल सॉल्विंग, ऐसा कंप्यूटर साइंस में इसमें और ज्यादा अच्छे से इंटरेस्ट आया. मेरे पास ज्यादा टाइम नहीं होता था इसलिए मैं ज्यादा देर तक मोबाइल नहीं ले पाता था, इसलिए मैं थोड़ा हर रोज आधा एक घंटा करके रोज पजल सॉल्व करता था. तो मुझे बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट है साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी में आता था और मुझे अभी भी है. तो मुझे लॉजिकल पजल सॉल्विंग करना मुझे अच्छा लगता है. मुझे साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में जानना, पढ़ना जो कुछ भी है वो बहुत अच्छा लगता है और मैं इसी में अपना करियर जो है वो बनाना चाहता हूँ कंप्यूटर साइंस के अंदर।
शोएब, थैंक यू सो मच। शोएब, मैं जब आपसे परसों बात कर रहा था तो आप आपने कुछ चीजें कही थी, उसमें से एक चीज मुझे याद है और मैं आपसे आज पूछना चाहता हूँ कि शोएब, हमारे सामने जो म्यूट बटन दिखता है, इसको अगर हम दबाते हैं तो क्या होता है? ये म्यूट कैसे होता है?
अभी जब हम
हेलो शोएब, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या?
भैया कोई म्यूजिक प्ले कर रहा है।
नहीं शोएब, हमें तो नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है। आप
हेलो,
हाय, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? आपको मेरा
हेलो
सवाल
भैया।
सुनाई दिया क्या? ओके, आई थिंक हम शोएब के साथ कुछ ऑडियो डिफिकल्टी फेस कर रहे हैं। शोएब, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या?
हाँ
ठीक है।
ठीक है
बट
ठीक है यार, हाँ अब कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी।
हाँ, तो मैं आपसे पूछ रहा
हाँ
था कि जब हम ऑडियो पे म्यूट या अनम्यूट बटन
म्यूट।
क्लिक करते हैं तो होता क्या है अंदर?
हाँ तो मैंने आपको पहले वाले सेशन में बताया था कि जो एक बाइनरी कोड नाम की चीज होती है, तो हमको भैया ने बहुत कुछ सिखाया था कि हर एक की जो होता है उसका एक अलग बाइनरी कोड होता है जो 0 1 1 से रिलेटेड होता है। हर एक ए का जो होता है वो 32 या फिर की एक नंबर से स्टार्ट होता है, फिर उसको बाइनरी कोड में कंप्यूटर खुद से कन्वर्ट करता है। वैसे ही मेरे हिसाब से जूम का भी कुछ एक प्रोग्राम होगा म्यूट बटन का, तो फिर उसी के पीछे जब हम क्लिक करेंगे तो वो जो माउस पॉइंटर होगा कंप्यूटर को पता चलेगा कि वो म्यूट बटन पे है, तो उसको समझ में आएगा कि जो भी यूजर है उसने म्यूट पे क्लिक किया है। तो फिर कंप्यूटर समझ आएगा कि इसको अनम्यूट करना है, तो फिर जूम जो अपना जो कोई भी प्रोसेस होगा उसको कंप्लीट करके आवाज दूसरे तक पहुंचाएंगा, ऐसा।
थैंक यू सो मच शोएब। शोएब, आई थिंक आपकी क्यूरियोसिटी, आप जिस तरीके से एग्जांपल्स दे रहे थे और जो रिफ्लेक्शन कर रहे थे कि जैसे मल्टीप्लिकेशन डिवीजन पहले मुश्किल लगता था अब आसान हो गया, आई थिंक ये कैपेबिलिटी सुन के मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ। एंड नाउ आई वांट टू इनवाइट द सेकंड रॉक स्टार ऑफ टुडेस पैनल, कोमल, टू शेयर कि कोमल, आप में क्या बदलाव आए इस प्रोग्राम के थ्रू? कोमल, आपकी आवाज नहीं सुनाई दे रही है मुझे। हेलो। नहीं कोमल, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है मुझे। बाकी सब सुन पा रहे हैं क्या?
नहीं भैया मुझे भी नहीं आ रही।
नहीं नहीं, मेकिन आई कैन हियर यू।
हाँ, नहीं नहीं, कोमल की आवाज नहीं आ रही है। कोमल, आप वापस ट्राई करेंगी या आप ऑडियो वापस कनेक्ट करेंगी? ओ, आई रियली वांटेड ऑडियंस टू हियर फ्रॉम कोमल। नहीं, अभी भी आपकी आवाज नहीं
ऑडियो
आ रही
तो
है।
नहीं आ रहा, नहीं आ
आप
रहा।
हाँ,
आपने क्या ईयरफोन लगा रखे हैं? अगर ईयरफोन लगा रखे हैं तो एक बार हटा दीजिए। नहीं, अच्छा ईयरफोन।
अच्छा, ये फोन
माइक्रोफोन का
नहीं है। हाँ, अगर अनम्यूटेड तो आप दिख दिख रहा है फोन, शायद राइट माइक कनेक्ट नहीं हो। कोमल, एक बार डिस्कनेक्ट करके वापस कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश करोगे? आई वांट टू गिव इट 1 more minute। अगर हो सकता है तो हम चाहते हैं, लाइक आई रियली रियली वांट द ऑडियंस टू हियर फ्रॉम यू। Okay, let's give Komal a minute. And I think what we are experiencing now is something that that every teacher has faced, every facilitator has faced. हमने जिन्होंने भी कोविड के बीच में trying to facilitate sessions, trying to work using technology to be able to connect with young people across the country. I think this has been a large challenge and a large reality. Let's see if Komal is back. Komal, can you hear me now? Yeah, I know we are running over time. So, Kumal, we can't still hear you. That's such a tragedy. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think in interest of time, maybe yeah, it's unfair for me to try and capture what I heard from Komal a few days back when I was trying to speak to her and hear about her experience. और कोमल इस बीच अगर आपकी आवाज मतलब आपका माइक चलने लगे तो प्लीज chime in. So, but I think when she spoke about how she was able to communicate, right, and while communication feels like a skill, जब कोमल बात कर रही थी तो वो उसे इस तरीके से बता पा रही थी कि जो मन में आ रहा है और उसके बाद मन से सुबह तक पहुंचने के बीच में इतनी बार हिचक होती है, राइट, इतने सवाल उठते हैं, इतना डर लगता है, वो सब खत्म हो गया है या वो बहुत कम हो गया है, राइट। तो अब अगर मन में उनको कुछ लग रहा है तो वो खुल के बोल पाती हैं, वो बहुत कॉन्फिडेंटली शेयर कर पाती हैं, राइट। And this happened because of an enabling and encouraging environment that was part of the program. So yeah, I think I'm feeling really sad that we could not hear from Komal in her voice because that voice carries that confidence and that clarity that that a child who's gone through this experience can express. But given the interest of time and that we were running a little late, I'll try and sum up right what Monal got us started with, sharing that, hey, for life skills to work, the entire ecosystem, right, from government officials, the HM, the teacher, like everybody becoming a life skills practitioner, right? Everybody becoming a life skills coach and enabling life skills, enabling this socio-emotional learning to happen in the environment, building that environment. Then Shubhangi talked about her experiences of how HMs and teachers who wanted it to not happen or wanted it to be the last period, जब उन्होंने बच्चों का मतलब बच्चों की खुशी देखी एंड एंगेजमेंट देखा तो उन्होंने इसको फर्स्ट पीरियड बना दिया और फिर कम्युनिटी के अंदर इस पे काम होने लगा. And then even though Shoaib was talking about his learning in coding, right, कि उसने coding कैसे सीखी, and I could hear from him his practice of reflection, his communication skills were obviously obvious to everyone, but also the ability to draw parallels, right, and reflect and share those reflections. I think these are the things that that bring life skills to the fore, and I feel fortunate to have had a little bit of visibility into what has happened in these 15 odd programs, 15 odd pilots that YW Next has run, and understand their impact. You can read a lot more about it in the report. I would strongly recommend it. A lot of us have worked quite hard to bring together all the work that has happened on ground in the pilots, and then the analysis of it, and bringing inferences around what we believe has helped a lot in building life skills. With that, thank you from this panel, and back to you, Charvi.
Thank you, Mr. Meckin. I really wish that we could hear from the amazing Komal, but nevertheless, it was a very stimulating discussion. And this brings us to the end of the first part of the event. On behalf of the Young Warrior NXT team, I would like to thank all the esteemed dignitaries for your valuable time and insights. And it is our privilege and honor to have you with us on World Youth Skills Day 2022. And we look forward to your continued support and encouragement so that every young person in India is equipped with life skills for a better future. Let me remind you, though, this is not the end. The next part of the event, we have a 4 series of insightful workshop-led panel discussions, 2 happening in parallel. Please use the same link to join back at 12:15. and the discussion would be starting from there. So from 12:15 to 1 p.m., we have a session on life skills delivery for young people, Scalable Solutions for India, moderated by Ms. Radhika Menon from UVA. And on the panel, we have Ms. Megha Agrawal from Leap Skills, Mr. Osama Manzar from Digital Empowerment Foundation, Mr. Shiv Devan from GAME, and Mr. Shoaib Dar from PyJam. In parallel, at 12:15 p.m., we have a session on insights and best practices from experiments on the field, moderated by Mr. Ankit Goyal from Samagra. And on the panel, we have Mr. Ashish Basu from UVA, Ms. Samar Bajaj from Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, Ms. Dhanashri Brahme from Magic Bus, and Ms. Swarupa Redditch from Pratham. From 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., we have a session on measuring the impact of life skills interventions, moderated by Ms. Sharvi Doublish from Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. And on the panel, we have Mr. Arjun Bahadur from Life Skills Collaborative,
Hello.
Ms. Vajanti Sarkar from CSL, and Ms. Neeta Agrawal from Portuguese. In parallel, at 1 p.m., we have a session on driving enrollment and engagement of life skills projects, moderated by Mr. Abhishek Gupta from UVA. And on panel are Ms. Sapna Mongill from NIIT Foundation, Ms. Naina Chaudhary from Breakthrough, Mr. Akash Sethi from Quest Alliance, and Mr. Vijay Sai Pratap from Gramwani. Don't miss out on these deep dive discussions where we will engage on not just the key insights from the Young Warrior report, but also on the granular aspects of life skills delivery in India at scale. Once again, please use the same link to join back at 12:15 for these sessions. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
But also on the granular aspects of life skills delivery in India at scale. Once again, please use the same link to join back at 12:15 for these sessions. Thank you.
Recording stopped.